Idaho Matters is brought to you in part by St. Luke's Pharmacy, now offering free home delivery. For daily medications or one time prescriptions, home delivery is easy to set up. It's convenient and safe. St. Luke's Pharmacy, now delivering to your doorstep. Information on how to get started at stlukesonline.org.
So you can't see this, but hopefully you can hear it. Behind every Boise State Public Radio podcast is a team working hard to bring you stories that matter. So if you value podcasts like this one, please support them. Hit donate at boisestatepublicradio.org. Thanks.
From the studios of Boise State Public Radio News, I'm Samantha Wright, filling in for Jim Gaudette. It's Idaho Matters. Since I last spoke with paleontologist L.J. Krummenacher 10 years ago about horse-sized, T-Rex-like dinosaurs that roamed southern Idaho 100 million years ago, he's been busy. A few years ago, he campaigned to get Idaho to pick a state dinosaur, and lately he's been staring at a toe bone at the Idaho Museum of Natural History, where he works as an affiliate curator. Yes, a toe bone of a dinosaur. And he thinks this dinosaur could be a brand new, undiscovered species of dinosaur from the Red Canyon Ranch Quarry of northern Wyoming. Krummenacher is a geology professor at the College of Eastern Idaho and an adjunct professor of geosciences at Idaho State University. And he joins us now to talk about Arkie the dinosaur. So let's start with the metatarsal, which is this toe bone. When did you start looking at it? When did you start checking it out?
Oh, so let's see. So I've got, just to give a backstory to how I got it and looking at it, I've got a friend named Bob Simon who worked a dinosaur quarry in Wyoming on private land, and he's been a mentor and supporter for, goodness, 20 years. And he would occasionally just send me a random dinosaur bone because he knew I had an interest in this group of dinosaurs called ornithopods. And he sent me a few over time where he referred them to an animal called Camptosaurus, a big cow-sized plant-eating ornithopod dinosaur. And I'd see these bones, and I was just learning to do paleo at the time when he started to send them. And I'd look up papers on Camptosaurus, and I'd be like, that doesn't quite look right. This specific bone that was featured, he probably sent to me 5 or 6 years ago. And same thing, I was like, this doesn't look like a Camptosaurus. And so I started doing research, and I was like, oh, I'm pretty sure this is going to be something new. And so that was formulating in my mind for years and years before I finally had the opportunity to get this into an actual paper and publish on it.
Wow. Okay, so I love that you just send bones around.
Bob's pretty nice. He's really good. He's done a lot of support for me that way.
Okay, so tell me about this toe. What's so special about it? Why is it different from other dino toes?
So Camptosaurus, so we thought originally thought this toe was from their metatarsals, their upper toe bones that connect near the ankle, are shorter and blockier and squatter and more rectangular, I guess is the easiest way to describe it here. And this metatarsal is longer and thinner, and to use a fancy term, it's more gracile, meaning skinnier. And I am not aware, I mean, we don't have any published dinosaurs from these rocks in Wyoming, the late Jurassic Morrison Formation. We don't have any dinosaurs with metatarsals like that, of that size, that are known from this time in North America. So that kind of got my attention that way. I was like, okay, I think we have something different.
Okay, so stubby toe versus long, skinny toe. Gotcha.
Yes, best way to put it. So I'm verbose, don't mind me.
No, this is great. You've also got a brain case. I think brain case, I think skull, but I guess you don't have the whole skull. You mentioned Wyoming. Where did all these come from?
These came from what's called the Red Canyon Ranch Quarry near Shell, Wyoming, north central Wyoming in the Bighorn Basin.
Gotcha. Okay, and how old are they? Do we know how old these fossils are?
Right, roughly 148 million years old, give or take a million or two.
Okay, no big deal. And correct me if I'm wrong, these fossils are part of a dinosaur who's called Arkie.
Or I should say they are similar. We think they go possibly to the same species that Arkie is. They're not from that individual, but maybe the same species.
Okay, so you mentioned that not all of these bones are coming from the same dinosaur, from the same archaea. Um,
Mhm.
but you've got some, and then there's some elsewhere. University of Zurich.
Yep, that's where Arky is right now. So again, Arky came from Bob's quarry as well, and it was
Mhm.
a nice, fairly complete skeleton. And it is at the Museum of Zurich, donated by a friend of Bob's, who Bob gave the skeleton to, whose name was Kirby Cyber. So it's changed hands a few times. It's made its way into a public university where it's available for science. And that's where I need to do a second trip here to look at that and do some detailed work on it and then figure out if it really is something new like we think.
Gotcha. Okay, so you did get a paper out. You mentioned it.
Hmm.
Your co-author Robert Gay called these dinosaurs the cows of the Jurassic. I think you mentioned that just a minute ago. So,
Hmm.
and you kind of described them, but how big are they? What did they eat? What kind of environment did they live in? Describe these guys.
Yeah, so size-wise, I'd say about horse size for this one. Maybe a little bit bigger than a horse, but roughly. And general plant eaters, herbivores, the environment they lived in at the time was very seasonal or monsoonal, with a wet season and a dry season. It's often compared to what you might see on like the Serengeti in Africa. Take that with a grain of salt, but something similar to that. And there are common plant eaters at this time in the middle lower part of the food chain compared to the carnivores.
Gotcha. About horse size. So,
Yeah.
yeah, cool. Okay. Now, and you mentioned you've been to the University of Zurich. You already took a look at some of this. Um,
Hmm.
and this got you interested enough to write the paper and to speculate that this could be a whole different species of dinosaur that maybe we've never heard of.
Yep, and I'm fairly confident in that, but if we don't want to name a new species based on one toe bone and a brain case, that's kind of bad science. We want a good partial skeleton, which Archie appears to be. And so we'll go back. The problem with it when I went before is the skeleton is in what's called a wall mount, where the bones are placed in the wall.
Oh,
So I can't handle them in 3D and see all their anatomy.
uh,
But I'm working on coordinating with the museum there where they're going to take it out of the wall, and Rob and I can go there and detail all the anatomy of every single stinking bone and scan it, and then put it into some computer programs where we can do research and look at who it's related to and how different it is. So it's going to take a bit of work, but that's the next thing to get back to Zurich for that.
well, that's really cool. And you mentioned that you've had access or have had the bone off and on the toe bone, and these have been around for a while. So it's not like somebody went and dug them up yesterday and said, "Oh, look, a new dinosaur." This is something that
Yeah.
you kind of have to study over time and figure out. This looks different from what people have already seen, right? Is this what we're talking about?
Yep. Nope, you're right. It takes time to do science like this and just to to find the time for me to do that. This is all in my free unpaid time doing this, but I love it, so I'm glad to.
So, what happens if this is a brand new dinosaur species? You mentioned getting to name it. What else happens?
Then we get to write up at least one paper, possibly more, depending how complicated the anatomy is and what we can see. But that would be the next thing is to do the science, publish it in a peer-reviewed journal, get that information out there, and then to look for other examples of what we think is the same species. It wouldn't be surprising if in other museum collections there's bones or partial skeletons of this animal that just aren't recognized as something new yet.
Well, that's interesting because I've read a few stories where, someone will just be kind of hanging out or working in a museum collection and they'll run across a tray of bones that somebody labeled once 60 years ago, and the science has gotten better and we've learned more, and now maybe it's a whole different thing, or we just didn't know. And that sounds like what this is. I guess my question is, if you've got one vegetarian horse-sized dinosaur with long toes versus stubby toes, how does that help us when we're looking backwards in time? How does that help you as a paleontologist to figure out that there are two different kinds of dinosaurs?
Well, it helps us understand diversity of animals before and after. As an example, this animal, Archaea, whatever sort of ornithopod, camptosaur like dinosaur it is It's one of the early examples of these animals that became much more common later in time in what's called the Cretaceous period, about 20 plus million years after Archaea. You get lots of these guys
Hmm.
diversifying. So it helps us understand this radiation of different animals. One thing that's kind of along those lines too is I used to feel kind of like guilty being a paleontologist and stuff, and I'd be like, well, how in the world does this help, heal the sick or feed the hungry or do really practical things? And then one day it really hit me that, you know what? If this is something that makes me happy and this is something that makes other people happy and heaven knows makes kids happy, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. And I like feeling that way because like, okay, maybe I am contributing to something more practical, just to help people appreciate the world we live in and all the cool animals that have been and were and such like that. So,
I love that. That's a great sentiment. I really love that. Well, and I think, it's always important when you're looking back to try and figure out. I think I saw somewhere online about the tree of life, figuring out
mhm.
what led to what led to what, and how we got from back then to here.
Oh yeah, I think it's fascinating. It's the coolest story in the world is just what we have now and where it came from and the possibilities of life. I think are really fascinating.
Wow. Okay, so what's next for you? Have you Are you ready to go to Zurich? Do you know when you're gonna go to Zurich?
Actually, right before talking to you, I sent an email checking in. I'm waiting to hear back from the museum there about when they think they can get Archie taken out of the wall for me to look at it. The biggest challenge will be to come up with funding. Generally, I have people that might donate to that or whatever. It's beyond my budget usually, so I've got to find some donors. Shout out to any potential donors, not to sound too bad, but to get to Zurich would be awesome. And what's really cool with this too is apparently they liked me enough. They offered for me to work on a second skeleton of another dinosaur there that is possibly the most complete example of that species in the world. If it is that species, it might be another new one. And this thing's like pony size. So anyway, I'm really excited. I got to get back to Zurich.
Oh wow. Okay, so wait, now you got to tell me about the pony.
So there's a new animal. Okay, I'll try and make a long story short. There's a dinosaur used to be called Nanosaurus. It used to be called Othnieliosaurus. Now it's named Enigma Cursor. Well, at least now parts of it are named Enigma Cursor, and it was based on a partial skeleton that was described last year. This skeleton in Zurich is named Barbara.
Oh,
It is possibly a much more complete example of Enigma Cursor slash Nanosaurus or something like that. But again, I've got to get back and see how it compares to Enigma Cursor or not. But it is going to be very important and help the few paleos that are interested in these little dinosaurs like me because it'll be a gold mine of information.
well, because in the past I know because I've talked to you about the little horse-sized T-Rex dinosaurs that were in Idaho,
Mhm.
100 million years ago. You kind of like the little guys.
Oh, I do. I like them. I always complain to my students about the big dinosaurs. I'm like, they're cool, but don't make me go collect them because, one leg bone can weigh 600 pounds and take six people to move it or a crane. I like it when you can collect the leg bones or the whole skeleton and two people can carry it pretty easy. So I'm kind of picky that way.
Oh wow. Oh, okay. This is really cool. I love that you're doing this, and I love that you love it. And you mentioned kids. I guess kids are really still dinosaur crazy.
Oh yeah, they haven't grown out of it yet. And I love it. It's a good way just to teach them to appreciate science and understand how it works.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, after you come back from Zurich and you're ready to tell us whether or not it's a new kind of dinosaur or not, we'll have you back on. We'll find out more.
Oh no, I'd be happy to do that. And I've got a new croc coming out too, just to drop a teaser. New species of croc from Idaho too. So there you go.
Oh wait, you can't just tease me like that. You have to tell me.
Okay, so no, I'll share.
Okay.
I can't tell you the name yet, but I'm naming it after my favorite rock band and Bob.
Ooh.
I'll leave it there.
Okay.
And it is a little cat-sized crocodile. We call them cat crocs or fox crocs because they were more agile than modern crocs, and they're about cat size. And they're just cute little, well, I guess you call them a cute little predator. But this paper describing this one and a great big croc that we have a partial skull of. Literally, I should be hearing hopefully within a few weeks that it's accepted and ready to publish. I hope it's past peer review. We made the edits. I'm just waiting on it to make its way back to the editor from the reviewers again. So.
And this little cat croc, was it in Idaho? It was an Idaho cat croc?
Yep, it was in Idaho. Same rocks as the Tyrannosaur. In fact, same site as the Tyrannosaur. So.
I just can't wrap my mind around a cat-sized crocodile. That is just...
Oh, they're so cute. When I do that, I'll have to send you the art. We've got commission for it. So.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Well, this has been so much fun. Thanks for sharing a little bit about what you're doing, and good luck on the trip to Zurich.
No, I appreciate it. I am always happy to share, and I appreciate you reaching out. So.
We've been speaking with paleontologist and College of Eastern Idaho geology professor L.J. Krummenacker about a possible brand new undiscovered species of dinosaur. We'll put a picture of Archie on our website, boisestatepublicradio.org.
And that'll do it for this episode of Idaho Matters. Make sure you check out our podcast feed because you can find more episodes of topics that might be interesting to you. And for more local news and headlines, make sure you subscribe to the Connector podcast. If this podcast has become a part of your routine, can you tap 5 stars and leave us a review? It helps us stand out.
You know, every day on Up First, NPR's Golden Globe-nominated morning news podcast, we bring you 3 essential stories. At the heart of each story are questions. What really happened? What really mattered? What happens next? At NPR, we stand for your right to be curious and to follow the facts. Follow Up First wherever you get your podcasts and start your day knowing what matters and why.